Infinite Opportunities helps you learn more about the wide range of enriching opportunities at Pennsylvania's 14 state system universities. This week, we focus on sports and related fields at universities across the state system. But first, we'll hear from Clarion University's president, Whitney.
Hello, I'm Frank Brogan, the Chancellor of the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education. We're going to have the opportunity to spend a few moments hearing about one of our 14 wonderful universities that make up that system. And with us today is the leader of that institution, Clarion University, and Dr. Karen Whitney, the president of Clarion. Welcome, Dr. Whitney, and we are delighted to have you with us.
Thank you, Chancellor Brogan.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about Clarion, some of its history, its location, just in the event people don't know what part of the state it's in? Tell us a little bit about Clarion.
I say that Clarion University is an intentional place. We're located between Pittsburgh and Erie. We're 2 hours north of Pittsburgh, 2 hours south of Erie, 2 hours south of Cleveland. We're kind of in the middle of everything, but we're nestled in just next to the Allegheny National Forest and Cook Forest. It's a lovely area with the Clarion River adjoining the campus. It's just beautiful. I mean, even with all the, whether it's a snowy winter or a warm summer, it's just a wonderful place. There's the borough of Clarion, in the township of Clarion and Clarion University. It is just this wonderful American college town. It was founded in 1867. We have approximately 6,000 students enrolled, both on ground there in Clarion, and we have a second campus in Oil City, as well as we have an extensive delivery of courses online. So we're everywhere. We're committed to Pennsylvania, but we're actually available around the world.
Well, you have an extensive background and career in the world of higher education, a doctoral degree in higher ed administration, the 16th president of Clarion University, and I'm sure very proud to be so. So what have you found at Clarion by way of need for reorganization and reinvention for the future of the institution, as great as its history has been?
Well, I mean, Clarion's kind of motto is we're a courageous, confident Clarion. We are a university that is truly under construction. We are under construction with major facilities underway, with new housing. We've completely refurbished a new vintage historic residence hall into a student services center that's dedicated to the student. Our #1 strategic goal is student success. It's the recruitment and the education and the graduation and the full employment of every student. And Becht Hall is becoming the hub for student services from admission to graduation. We're also completely refurbing our Tippin Gym, which is our major indoor athletic facility, which houses our NCAA championship swimming and diving team, our Division I wrestling program, as well as our outstanding programs in intercollegiate basketball and volleyball. And that's going to be a complete refurb that's going to open in 2017. So in a facility standpoint, we are a university under construction. But more importantly, from an academic program standpoint, we are a university under construction. We've launched this year a School of Education with a whole new and exciting innovative approach to teacher education preparation. We have signature academic programs in addition to our historical program, because we were first founded in 1867 as what was called a normal school or a teacher's college. And we've grown and we've met the needs over these almost 150 years as the needs of Western Pennsylvania and the nation have changed, so has Clarion. And now we've gone from that teacher's college in this beautiful setting to now our signature programs continue to be education, but they include business, science, technology, education, science, technology, engineering, and health professions, because that's what our area needs from us, and as a public university, we're there for them.
You know, a very important hallmark of all 14 of our universities in the state university system of Pennsylvania is a dedication to keeping costs down for our students. We have what I like to call a rather fragile economic strata of students who inhabit our 14 institutions, and by virtue of that fact, we're very proud to say that we do keep our costs down. Our tuition rates, our fee rates are among the lowest in all of higher education in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You at Clarion have developed something new and very exciting, which is a merit-based scholarship program. Can you tell us about that, Karen?
Absolutely. I think the idea of it's about value. it's not just about what someone pays for their education. Is it relevant? Will it prepare them, as I tell freshmen at orientation, we're here to prepare you for your dreams. And so I think it gets back to, are we organizing ourselves in a way that's effective for you and the learner and your interests? I think our approach is to meet the student where they are, whether it's on-ground learning in our campus, online learning, or it's looking at a variety of credentials and degrees that can meet your current and future needs. So I think we're in a very dynamic state in higher education. I think the other thing that's notable about Clarion is our commitment to a bachelor's degree that can be accomplished in 4 years. I mean, our bachelor's degrees are 120 credits. We're very focused on that commitment and ensuring that if a student can dedicate themselves to full-time study, that they can finish. That's the affordability, is having a relevant credential completed in a timely manner. And I think we're well positioned for that.
So true. And as I like to tell people, a very important partnership exists between the student and the university.
Right.
The student has to be committed to finishing on time, and the university has to be committed to seeing to it that they can, with course selection, financial assistance if that is a barrier. And I'm really pleased with how Clarion University has taken that on as a major issue relative to the future of the institution and our entire system. You touched on a moment ago some of the athletic programs at Clarion. And of course, many of our viewers may not know that our 14 universities that make up the Pennsylvania system of higher education are all engaged in intercollegiate sports on a variety of fronts. Tell us a little bit about Clarion.
Well, what I'm most proud of in our Clarion program, the most important thing is 46% of our students who are athletes have a 3.2 GPA or higher across all sports. A lot of times in the media, there's a really narrow presentation of college sports. And at Clarion, as well as all of the schools in the system, we're part of a Division II conference that is the most competitive, athletically competitive conference in the country. It's the largest, and it has some of the highest academic standards. So that's what I'm proud of, is that combination of academic excellence and athletic commitment, because that's the promise that we should be giving our students, and that never gets told enough. So our athletes are scholars, and they compete athletically, not only in our conference, but nationally.
Well, you know, that takes us to the word community, because athletics, of course, give universities an opportunity to reach into the community and show just how wonderful the institution is. But you go beyond that in the world of community at Clarion by taking what you do at your institution to the people, to the community at large. Tell us some of the things that are taking place at Clarion by way of community.
Well, I think definitely Clarion has a long history of being a public university. From its early days of, again, starting out as a place that prepared teachers for, in 1867, what might have been the frontier of Pennsylvania or the Midwest, all the way today to our commitment to community includes leveraging our teaching, our research, and our professional service to benefit the Clarion region, to economically, socially, and developmentally improve the quality of life for millions of people. I mean, there's a dedicated interest here. Our students above the national average are involved in community service learning, which combines doing good things, but also that comes back into the classroom, so that our students don't just go and work in a child care center or work in a homeless shelter. They're integrating that experience into their courses and into their scholarly work, so they can understand the great challenges of poverty and homelessness, or the great opportunities in working with children by being out in the real world, but bringing the real world back into the classroom with their faculty to make sense of it all, so that they can be part of that next generation that solves these great challenges.
Part of that community includes, of course, our veteran population, and I am so impressed in my year and a half with this system as to the attention that is given to our veteran population within our 14 universities. Clarion certainly holds that in high esteem. How do you handle the veteran and the veteran issues at Clarion to make sure they get an opportunity?
Well, first of all, I have to say it is stunning, the commitment and the history of the military service in the Clarion area in western Pennsylvania. So it is definitely service to country and nation is a part of our history and culture. So Clarion, it makes great sense that not only have we for over 6 years been considered a military-friendly university, our commitment is deeper than that. Our commitment is deep in terms of the being thoughtful about what academic credentials we offer and how we offer them. Really, we are stepping ahead and wanting to be deeply involved with people who are currently still serving actively and people who have left service and are now veterans and their families. Because that's a great part of the culture of Western Pennsylvania is that connection. So we are very much cognizant of the interests of military folks, and we're actually designing some very innovative delivery structures to help them in a variety of ways. It's very exciting.
Well, Clarion has such a long-standing tradition of service to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Now with the world getting smaller, include the country and the world. And Dr. Karen Whitney, thank you. And of course, through you, thanks to all the great people at Clarion, the faculty, the staff, and of course that marvelous student body for the work they do every day to continue to be one of the jewels in the crown of the Pennsylvania system of higher education. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Coming up next, explore more opportunities offered at the universities in Pennsylvania's state system of higher education.
Focus on success. Since 1837, Cheney University has been preparing thousands of young men and women to become successful leaders in the fields of business, arts and science, education, and professional studies. At Cheney University, you'll not only receive an affordable, quality college education, but the attention you deserve from faculty who care about you and your success. Focus on success at Cheney University.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Mansfield University to learn more about a student who overcomes a personal challenge to be part of her team.
July 10th, 2007 was when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. When you eat a certain amount of carbohydrates or you eat food, your pancreas is supposed to secrete insulin. Mine does not do that. My dad was a big sports guy. He watched basketball. He would go to my cousin's games. I would go to her games. I loved it. My dad and I kind of just bonded over it, and I just enjoyed it from the start. I remember I started first playing collective team basketball when I was 4th, 5th grade on a travel team. 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th I did travel, and I did CYO through our church league. And then I did JV 7th and 8th also, and then 9th through 12th I did varsity. A summer going into my freshman year, we were at a summer league game, and we had them twice a week, once a week, every so often, and I wasn't myself. I was seeing 3 rims. My mouth was extremely dry. I knew something was off, but I didn't know what. I know I can play basketball. It's just I don't know what's wrong with me. So my mom took me to the doctors, and they tested my blood sugar. And they told me it was off the charts and that I needed to go to the hospital. And I was actually supposed to go to a summer league game right after the doctor's appointment. And I was all dressed, ready to go, but I wasn't allowed to go. So went to the hospital, was there for 5 days, got educated on it and everything. Did shots for about a year, and then after a year, I went to the pump, and I've been on the pump ever since. There's different spots in my body that I can put it in, and it's just this catheter that's inside of me connected to a tube, and in the pump there's a cartridge of insulin, and it goes through the tube and into my body, and you have to change that every 3 days. So it helps, and throughout the day I'll get a little amount of insulin, just like any other person that their pancreas is producing, and then when I eat I just say, okay, I'm eating however many carbs, I type it in, and then it goes through my body, whereas someone without type 1 diabetes, your pancreas would already know that because your body, but So like my pancreas is on the outside of me, kind of, in a way. Basketball has been my life. It's been a family thing that we've always liked to do together, to watch together. I mean, if I'm going to stop playing basketball in my freshman year of high school, what would I be doing with my life? Like that, to me, that basketball is what I do.
The details that she has to pay attention to on a day-to-day basis absolutely, earns the respect of everyone in our program, and to be honest, anyone that knows her, because you're going through extraordinary measures to do something that you love.
I don't think people understand how serious this disease is, and she goes through a lot to play this game, both mentally and physically. She's always in the training room before practice and after practice. She's always have different doctor's appointment for her feet and her calves. She shows a tremendous amount of love for the game.
A lot of people would kind of let it hold them back, but she doesn't. And even when she has to sit out, if she's low, if she's high, she has to sit out for a while. She's never just sitting over there mad or angry that she can't be with us. She's always yelling, cheering on the sideline, and she's a good leader. She's someone who's easy to follow because she works hard whenever she can work, and it's just someone who you see who would die to be out there all the time with us. So when she does get the chance, she shows it with how hard she plays.
It's just part of my life, so not to have had this the past 7 years would be crazy. So I just wouldn't want diabetes to stop me from that.
Coming up next, explore more opportunities offered at the universities in Pennsylvania's state system of higher education.
My parents always said that a bridge is only useful if it can be crossed.
At Edinboro, I found a university that connects who I am to who I want to be.
A school that's affordable, with excellent professors and nationally recognized undergraduate and graduate programs who give personal attention to my success. Edinboro is also a place with great traditions and big-time school spirit.
Edinboro University. It's the bridge to your destination. Choose excellence. Choose Edinboro. Apply online at edinboro.edu.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Slippery Rock University to learn more about what it takes to become an athletic trainer.
My name is Carrie Usika. I'm a senior athletic training major. I'm from Shakora, Pennsylvania, and I went to Karn City High School. I think the unique thing about coming to Slippery Rock for athletic training is that you get to experience clinicals from the very first semester in the professional strand. I've worked with the baseball team, the lacrosse team, 3 different football teams, and in a lot of colleges in Pennsylvania, you don't get that experience until like your last semester. Our professors and our clinicals are very close-knit. Dr. Williams is kind of like our mom. She's always there for us, whether it's personal, academic, clinical. Mr. Thornton is the football athletic trainer, and I actually had him for my clinical twice, and he was very helpful in just being there, teaching us. Everything was hands-on with him. I've been working with patients since the very first semester, so I think they've done a very good job at preparing us for the future, and I know that I want to go to physical therapy school and ultimately work with either the military or in the sports medicine setting, and I think my degree in athletic training will help back that up. I would tell prospective students looking to come here that it is a very close-knit program, and they've done a lot of curriculum changes in the past couple years, and I think that students that come to Slippery Rock for athletic training are going to receive the best education, both in the classroom and in the clinic. My name is Carrie Usika, and I have an SRU success story.
Coming up next, explore more opportunities offered at the universities in Pennsylvania's state system of higher education.
I really enjoy partnering with my professors on their research. It allows me to explore my field and prepare for my career.
The impact I have on students goes beyond the classroom, mentoring, advising, and sometimes just listening.
The faculty definitely have an open door policy. You can stop by to talk about classwork, your career, or just life.
When Webpage FX is looking for technical talent, the first place we turn is Shippensburg University.
SHIP is teaching me how to learn and adapt. That's critical for success in this industry.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Indiana University of Pennsylvania to learn how communication media led to an internship with a major sports franchise.
I did not know what I wanted to do my senior year of high school, as a lot of seniors do. I went and toured ESPN, the headquarters in Connecticut, and I went in there and I was like, I know exactly what I was going to do. And I knew the best way to change the world was actually to do it through media. In communications media, I had a concentration of TV and film production, so I took classes like basic television, basic audio, graphic design, all little things that have to combine in order to make, production itself. I also was a journalism minor, so I specialized in public relations, which actually accumulated a lot of the stuff that I had learned through communications media, and then combined it with the writing skills that I learned in journalism. So in that, I actually applied to the Pirates internship. It's in community relations, which is a side of public relations. I work underneath the diversity manager. So what we do is we work with Pirates charities along with our RBI program, which is a youth initiative. The best thing that anybody can do if they're coming to IEP is just be dedicated. Don't be overwhelmed. Dedicate yourself to your education, and it really will shine through when you graduate and want to go for a job.
Coming up next, explore more opportunities offered at the universities in Pennsylvania's state system of higher education.
I'm a bio major. I'd like to be a physician one day. I think it's really exciting to be able to take what I've learned in class and then apply it right into my research.
I think students always reinvigorate me. They always ask the questions that need to be asked, and often they put the research on the track that it should be on.
I think that's when you are able to learn and fully understand when you actually put it into practice. Bloomsburg University helps me unleash my inner biologist.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Next, we go to Kutztown University to learn about what it feels like to reach the top of your sport.
To the average grappler, the sport of wrestling is a way of life. For Kutztown University heavyweight Ziad Haddad, it was his salvation. After a long road back to the mat, Haddad finished with a record of 25-0 and won the national championship at the heavyweight class. When his dream finally came to fruition, he felt a multitude of feelings about it.
It was a feeling of a mixture of feelings. It was, celebration, satisfaction, relief. A little bit of relief. When you work so hard for something, and you finally get there, it is sweet. And it doesn't just have to be athletics. Other people experience it in different facets of life, but it's definitely a sweet feeling, getting to the pinnacle and looking down at where you came from. It's a sweet feeling.
It was a long journey to the top for Haddad. After finishing 39-0 and winning a state championship his senior year at Bethlehem Catholic, Haddad enrolled at Division I powerhouse North Carolina. But after a number of questionable decisions off the mat, Haddad ended up dropping out of school, and a return to the mat seemed like nothing more than a pipe dream. But Kutztown University head coach Rob Fisher looked past Haddad's mistakes and took a chance with the former state champ.
It's a risk no matter who we recruit. You never know exactly what you're going to get, but if there's some issues in the past and, you are taking a risk, but, we weigh those risks. We talk to the student athlete, we talk to Z, we talk to other people that knew him, and once I started doing some research, I was real confident in our decision to bring him along.
Well, he gave me the opportunity. Coach Fisher gave me the opportunity, and without opportunity, you can't do anything. A lot of people experience that on a day-to-day basis. You have skills or you have this, but you need the opportunity. He was my door. He opened the door for me, and I stepped through.
Haddad fully committed himself in practice and in the weight room, knowing it would be a daunting task to get back into wrestling shape. Haddad knew he had to dedicate himself both mentally and physically in order to return to competition.
It was extremely hard. I not only had to make a commitment to my physical body, but also my mental and spiritual. So getting back into shape, it took 3 different commitments: mental, spiritual, physical. You had to train. Physically, you had to train your body. I had to train my body. Mentally, I had to want it. Because there's times when you can say, You know, I wanted to try to win a national title, but then actually mentally believing that, that was challenging at times, putting your body through some things. And then spiritually, you know, you just sort of have to step out on the mat and believe that you're the best and you're going to get the job done.
Haddad pushed himself beyond his limits in practice, but if he ever needed an extra push, his teammate, sparring partner, and friend Danny Ortiz was always there to keep him on track.
Danny he's one of the truest friends you'll ever meet in life. You know, when somebody wants something to happen for you more than they want it to happen for themselves, those are the people you keep around. And those are the people you hold close to you. Those are your true friends, those are your family members, you know, and that's Danny.
I have to push him when he stops. So it's not that I push him hard, I push him past where he decides he wants to kind of slow down and not keep going.
Assistant coach Chris Belanca is often seen working closely with Haddad to sharpen his technique.
I try to push him as hard as I can. He pushes himself about as hard as he needs to, though. There are times when I have to encourage him to do some extra, but 99% of the time, he's the guy pushing to do extra on his own.
You know, Coach Belanca doesn't get enough credit for what he's done, you know, and helped me throughout. He doesn't get enough credit, and you know, he pushed me when I didn't want to be pushed. You know, he pushed me when I was having a bad day, and you know, he just, you know, he knew how important it was for me to achieve what I achieved last year for the program and for our school, you know, and he was going to make sure that I got there.
Haddad admits that wrestling not only reshaped him as an athlete, but as a person as well.
Wrestling builds character. There's no way to slice it differently. There's something about shaking somebody's hand and going like a mano-a-mano type of situation where it's one man versus one man. I mean, there is no comparison there.
Ziad Haddad's national championship is the climax of his redemptive journey back to the sport he loved. And this reassures the coaching staff that they made the right decision in adding him to the program. Coach Fisher especially is incredibly proud of Haddad's resolve.
Incredibly proud, not only, you know, what he's been able to accomplish on the mat for us, but in life in general. To achieve the biggest prize there is in our sport, yeah, I'm like a proud father when it comes to Ziad.
Come back next week to learn more of the infinite opportunities at the state system's 14 universities, or visit us online.